In the tranquil tapestry of American small towns, where the mundane unfolds with comforting predictability, the most profound breaches of peace often arrive unannounced, leaving behind only echoes and unsettling riddles. True horror rarely announces itself with a violent crescendo. More often, it is the silent void, the absence where something vibrant once stood that whispers of unthinkable acts. Such was the chilling reality that settled over Maple Creek, Vermont, a community built on quiet rhythms and shared trust. Eleanor Vance, an artist whose life painted a picture of boundless promise, simply vanished. Her cabin, a sanctuary of creativity, became a stark stage for a mystery. No obvious struggle, no forced entry, only the unsettling silence and a single out-of-place artifact, a generic hotel keycard, bland and anonymous, yet screaming of a clandestine presence. It was a digital fingerprint left by a shadow, a fleeting link between the everyday and the utterly terrifying. In a world where every step leaves a trace, could this single unassuming card unlock the dark truth of a life extinguished? The first blush of dawn painted Maple Creek, Vermont in a familiar palette of muted grays and nascent blues. This quaint town, nestled deep within the Green Mountains, typically awoke to the gentle rhythm of rural life, the distant crow of a rooster, the quiet rustle of wind through ancient pines. But on this particular Tuesday, an unnatural stillness clung to the air, a foreboding quietude that would soon be brutally shattered. The piercing wail of sirens, an unfamiliar sound in this peaceful haven, tore through the early morning chill, signaling an abrupt and devastating rupture in the community's fabric. Eleanor Vance, a spirited 28-year-old artist and an ardent adventurer who found solace and inspiration on the winding hiking trails that threaded through the mountains, was gone. Her absence transcended a mere missing person report. It was a profound vacuum. Her charming cabin, a sanctuary of creativity, tucked away just off a secluded trail, stood eerily open, its front door ajar as if she had just stepped out for a moment. Inside, a half-finished canvas, resting on her easel, vibrant with the nascent strokes of a mountain landscape, served as the silent sole witness to her abrupt departure. The brushes lay beside it, still wet with paint, a testament to a vibrant life interrupted mid-creation. As the first patrol officer cautiously entered the cabin, a sense of unnatural disturbance permeated the air. There was no forced entry, no shattered windows or splintered door frames that would suggest a conventional break-in. Yet the subtle disarray spoke volumes. A ceramic mug lay overturned on the kitchen counter, its contents spilled and dried. A small framed photograph of Eleanor with her mother lay face down on a side table in the living room, as if swept aside in haste. The scene itself suggested a violent, desperate confrontation that had transpired within these familiar walls, leaving behind only an unsettling emptiness. Then a single critical detail caught the officer's eye, lying conspicuously on the polished wooden floor near the cabin's threshold. It was a generic hotel keycard, its bland plastic surface bearing no identifying marks other than the embossed logo of an unfamiliar chain Harmony Suites. This object was a stark anomaly, alien to the rustic charm of Eleanor's home and utterly out of place in Maple Creek, a town where such corporate anonymity was unheard of. It was a silent, tantalizing secret, a digital breadcrumb in a landscape of analog life. The void Eleanor had left behind was now given a terrifying new dimension by this unassuming piece of plastic pulling the quiet calm of Maple Creek into a stark new reality. Before the horror, before the chilling silence of her empty cabin, there was Eleanor Vance. Her life wasn't merely a series of days. It was a vibrant tapestry woven with bold strokes of color and the quiet strength of the Vermont landscape she adored. For her mother, Margaret Vance Eleanor, was the sun that warmed her world, a daughter who blossomed from a curious, paint-splattered child into a young woman of fierce independence and boundless spirit. Eleanor always saw the world differently. Margaret recounted, her voice a thin whisper, strained by unshed tears. She clutched a worn photo, a younger Eleanor's mischievous grin lighting her face as a toddler. Even then, she was drawing, sketching, everything. It wasn't just a hobby, it was who she was. She wasn't just a daughter. She was my best friend, my confidant. Margaret described Eleanor's progression from childhood doodles to sophisticated canvases, each piece pulsating with her vibrant inner world, capturing the essence of a mountain stream or the subtle hues of a forest canopy. Lately, Eleanor had been consumed by the anticipation of her first solo gallery exhibition in Burlington, a significant milestone in her burgeoning career. She was buzzing with excitement. Margaret recalled a faint, fleeting smile touching her lips before fading to a fresh wave of grief. Talked about nothing else for weeks. It was her dream finally coming true. The weight of that unfinished dream now pressed down on Margaret, a physical ache in her chest, a cruel monument to what had been stolen. Chloe Hayes, Eleanor's childhood friend, painted a vivid portrait of a woman who was indeed larger than life. Eleanor didn't just walk into a room, she inhabited it, Chloe said, her eyes welling up. Her laugh was infectious, a ripple of pure joy that made everyone around her smile. Chloe reminisced about their countless hiking adventures, scaling peaks and discovering hidden waterfalls, Eleanor always leading the way, her spirit as untamed as the wilderness she cherished. She was fearless, but also so grounded, so present, Chloe explained, a tremor in her voice. She had this incredible ability to make you feel completely seen, completely loved. Eleanor's fierce independence was balanced by a deep, unwavering loyalty to those she held dear. She was the one who remembered birthdays, who called just to check in, who offered a listening ear without judgment, always a steady presence in a world of change. The profound void left by Eleanor's disappearance resonated not just within her cabin walls, but through every heart she had touched. It wasn't merely a person missing. It was a vital thread ripped from the intricate fabric of lives she intimately knew. Her unfulfilled aspirations, the vibrant future she had meticulously sketched out for herself, had all been abruptly cut short. The raw, aching grief of those who loved her served as a stark, humanizing reminder of the devastating cost of what had transpired. The profound loss echoed a silent, desperate plea, underscoring the moral impetus for discovering the truth of Eleanor Vance's fate. Without her, the world felt a little less bright, a little less whole, demanding an answer to the chilling silence she left behind. The frigid air inside Eleanor Vance's cabin offered no warmth, only a stark, silent testimony to the violence that had transpired. Into this unnerving tableau stepped Detective Sergeant Marcus Thorne, his presence immediately commanding. His gaze a practiced sweep of weary assessment, honed by years of witnessing too much, took in every detail. Beside him, Detective Olivia Chen moved with precise efficiency, her camera already active, meticulously documenting the unsettling scene. Thorne, a veteran investigator whose eyes seemed to absorb the nuances of human pain and deception, immediately noticed the subtle disarray that lay beneath the surface of apparent order. An overturned chair by a small writing desk, a faint scuff mark on the polished wooden floor, a rug slightly askew. These were not the casual signs of a life in motion. Rather, they were inconsistencies that whispered of a violent encounter, carefully masked, a desperate attempt to erase the truth. Detective Chen's focus narrowed on the small, unassuming object that had first caught the patrol officer's attention. With gloved hands, she carefully retrieved the generic hotel keycard from the floor, placing it into a clear evidence bag. Its bland plastic surface, now protected, represented a silent, intriguing clue, a digital whisper in a case that was rapidly escalating beyond a simple missing persons report. This unassuming piece of plastic, seemingly insignificant, had instantly transformed the local investigation into something far more complex, directly implicating a perpetrator from beyond Maple Creek's insular world. The initial hours following Eleanor's disappearance unfolded in a whirlwind of coordinated activity. The hushed efficiency of law enforcement contrasted sharply with the rising tide of fear now washing over the community. K-9 units, their handlers, grim-faced, were immediately dispatched to the surrounding woods, their trained senses searching for any scent trail of Eleanor or her assailant. Forensic teams, moving with silent precision, began their painstaking work inside the cabin, sifting through every surface for Fiber's fingerprints and other microscopic evidence that might finally tell the story the cabin walls could not. Meanwhile, uniformed officers fanned out across Maple Creek, conducting door-to-door inquiries, their questions a stark reminder to residents that a shadow had fallen upon their quiet lives. The very air crackled with an unspoken fear. The forced composure of the officers, the methodical nature of the investigation, could not entirely mask the chilling realization that was setting in. This was not a simple disappearance. Eleanor Vance had not merely walked away. The scene, the subtle signs of struggle, and especially that foreign hotel keycard, all pointed to a deliberate act of violent abduction. Maple Creek, a town once defined by its tranquility, now braced itself for the disturbing truth of a predator in its midst. The intensive hunt for Eleanor Vance and the individual responsible for her vanishing had begun. The hotel keycard, once a bland, unassuming piece of plastic, had quickly transformed into the linchpin of the investigation, a tangible thread leading away from the quiet confines of Maple Creek. It was a silent witness holding secrets not in ink, but in its very digital memory. Detective Chen, recognizing its immediate importance, fast-tracked it to the state's top forensic technicians. In the sterile, fluorescent-lit environment of the digital forensics lab, specialists worked with methodical precision, their fingers navigating complex data streams, extracting the card's coded history. Within hours, the key card yielded its hidden language. Its digital signature confirmed it belonged to a Harmony Suites hotel chain, a ubiquitous brand with locations spanning the country. More critically, the data revealed the specific property, Harmony Suites, Albany, New York. This revelation was a jolt, instantly expanding the scope of the investigation far beyond the tranquil borders of Vermont. Eleanor Vance's disappearance was no longer a localized mystery. It had escalated into an interstate manhunt. Albany, a bustling city, nearly 150 miles southwest of Maple Creek, presented a new set of challenges. The sheer number of Harmony Suites properties nationwide meant that this initial discovery, while vital, was only the first step in a vast and complex digital maze. The immediate challenge confronting detectives Thorne and Chen was immense: how to pinpoint the specific hotel amongst potentially hundreds of identical properties, and then how to extract relevant guest data without delay. This is where precision truly matters, Detective Thorne remarked, a flicker of grim determination in his eyes as he reviewed the initial forensic report. Every digital interaction, every transaction leaves a mark. Our job is to find the relevant signal in all that noise. The clock was ticking, a relentless countdown against the chances of finding Eleanor alive and the perpetrator vanishing without a trace. The detectives, leveraging every available resource, initiated a massive data request to the Harmony Suites corporate headquarters. They needed to cross-reference every recent check-in and check-out from every Harmony Suites property within a reasonable radius of Maple Creek, focusing specifically on the days leading up to Eleanor's disappearance. It was a monumental task, a digital needle in a haystack search, but the keycard provided the vital starting point. This meticulous forensic endeavor underscored the unavoidable reality for any perpetrator in the modern age. Escaping accountability means navigating an unseen web of digital trails. From security cameras to hotel key logs, from credit card swipes to cell phone pings, a digital shadow is cast with every movement. The hunt for Eleanor's abductor would now shift from traditional legwork to the painstaking decryption of this digital world, a world that unforgivingly remembered everything. The invisible trail had been revealed. The arduous pursuit of the person who left it was now in full swing. The raw data, a relentless deluge of check-in and check-out times, room numbers, and guest names from hundreds of Harmony Suites locations, arrived at the Vermont State Police headquarters. It was a digital haystack, vast and overwhelming, but within its complex layers, Detectives Thorne and Chen, alongside a dedicated team of analysts, began their painstaking search for the singular telling detail. They meticulously cross-referenced the keycard's unique digital signature with every active and recently deactivated card from properties within a broad radius, filtering for any usage patterns that precisely coincided with Eleanor Vance's disappearance. Days blurred into a relentless pursuit of patterns. Then a breakthrough, sharp and undeniable. A specific usage sequence from the Harmony Suites in Albany, New York, stood out, shining a beacon in the digital expanse. The key card found in Eleanor's cabin had been issued to a guest checking into that very hotel just 2 days before Eleanor vanished from Maple Creek. Crucially, the guest had checked out on the precise morning Eleanor was last seen. Timing was too exact to be a mere coincidence. The anonymous plastic card, once a silent enigma, now revealed a direct connection, placing a traveler from outside Eleanor's world squarely within the critical time frame of her abduction. This was the first significant bridge from abstract data to a tangible lead. The focus of the investigation narrowed with a tangible sense of urgency, and a specialized team was dispatched immediately to the Albany Harmony Suites. Their objective: to obtain every scrap of information related to the room associated with that key card, and more importantly, to identify the guest who had held it. The hotel management, already aware of the gravity of the police inquiry, swiftly provided access to their comprehensive surveillance footage. Hours were spent poring over grainy security camera recordings from the lobby hallways and parking garage. Every face, Every gesture was scrutinized with unyielding focus. Finally, they found him. A lone man, captured checking in, then checking out. His face was partially obscured by the brim of a baseball cap, pulled low, a common enough attempt at anonymity. Yet as he walked through the lobby, collecting his luggage, something else became evident: his gait. It was a distinctive, almost loping stride, a subtle physical characteristic that registered instantly with Thorne's keen eye. Even through the low-resolution video, the distinct way he carried himself, the slight lean to one side, marked him indelibly. The implications were profound. A physical object found at a Vermont crime scene had, through the unseen network of digital data-led investigators, over 100 miles away, delivering them the first visual of a prime person of interest. This digital thread had tightened around an unknown individual, connecting a seemingly isolated local tragedy to a traveler who had crossed state lines. The identity of the man who possessed that hotel keycard, the one who walked with that distinctive stride, became the immediate and paramount objective of this now relentless investigation. The grainy surveillance footage from the Albany Harmony Suites became the focal point of an intensive digital and human effort. The elusive image of the man in the baseball cap, his distinctive gait, a fleeting yet memorable clue, was fed into advanced facial recognition software. Despite the cap's obscuring brim and the low resolution, the intricate algorithms worked tirelessly, sifting through vast databases of driver's licenses, publicly available photos, and even commercial travel logs. Simultaneously, vehicle registration checks were run against every car captured entering and exiting the hotel's parking garage during the critical time frame. The digital hunt was relentlessly assembling fragmented pieces of a complex puzzle. Then, a crucial human element surfaced. A sharp-eyed hotel clerk, having reviewed the footage at the detective's request, remembered the peculiar guest. He recalled a minor interaction, a polite but distant demeanor, a subtle flicker of impatience in his eyes. More significantly, he provided the name noted on the guest's registration: Garrett Hollis. This synergy of cutting-edge technology and a key human observation provided the vital link. The man in the frame now had an identity: Gary Hollis, a 42-year-old traveling salesman. The revelation struck with a chilling ordinariness. Hollis's profile was meticulously clean, devoid of any prior criminal record that might hint at the darkness now associated with him. He was not a known felon, nor a violent offender flagged on any watch list. Instead, he presented a far more unsettling reality: the profound capacity for malevolence to reside within the utterly mundane. This was no stranger lurking in obvious shadows. He was a seemingly unremarkable man blending seamlessly into the rhythm of daily life, moving unnoticed among them, perhaps even passing through their small towns for years without a second glance. Detectives Thorne and Chen immediately began to construct a comprehensive dossier on Hollis. They delved into his professional life, meticulously charting his established sales routes and the roster of clients he regularly visited. This investigative deep dive revealed an unsettling fact: Hollis's territory included the very region of Vermont where Eleanor Vance lived. His travels frequently brought him through Maple Creek, placing him not only within a manageable distance, but within a legitimate everyday context for being in the area. His routine, once seen as simply the unremarked life of a traveling salesman, now took on a deeply sinister implication, suggesting a calculated familiarity with the very routes Eleanor might have taken. The more they learned about Garrett Hollis, the more profound the unease grew. His existence was one of constant motion, of fleeting connections, in temporary places, a life seemingly designed for leaving minimal traces, for passing through unnoticed. But the digital fingerprint of that hotel keycard, coupled with the sharp memory of a hotel employee and the cold precision of forensic technology, had inexorably pulled him from the vast anonymity of the road and squarely into the harsh, illuminating glare of suspicion. The hunt had its first clear target, and the confrontation was now inevitable. With Garrett Hollis now identified, the seasoned detectives initiated a covert surveillance operation. They observed him for days, charting his movements, his routines, noting the precise rhythms of his unassuming existence. Hollis moved with a quiet efficiency, his life appearing meticulously ordinary, the quintessential traveling salesman efficiently navigating from client to client, his demeanor unremarkable, his habits predictable. He was a master of normalcy, a figure effortlessly blending into the backdrop of routine American life. This very apparent calm, however, only sharpened the detectives' instincts, for they knew true deception often wore such an unassuming mask. The day finally arrived for the confrontation. Detectives Thorne and Chen approached Hollis at a quiet gas station on the outskirts of Albany, a neutral public setting chosen to gauge his raw, unvarnished reaction. Hollis, caught off guard, mid-fueling, blinked in surprise, his practiced smile faltering slightly as the two detectives introduced themselves. Thorne, his voice calm, and even held up the clear evidence bag containing the Harmony Suites keycard, its plastic surface reflecting the harsh afternoon sun. Mr. Hollis Thorne, began his tone devoid of accusation. We're investigating a missing person case in Vermont, Eleanor Vance. This keycard was found at her residence. It's registered to you. Garrett Hollis's immediate response was a performance of utter bewilderment. His brow furrowed in a convincing display of innocent confusion, his eyes widening slightly. Eleanor Vance. I don't know who that is. He stammered, his voice laced with manufactured surprise. His posture shifted, leaning slightly back, hands rising in an open gesture of disavowal. A keycard from a hotel. It must be a mistake. Perhaps it was misplaced. Maybe I picked it up by accident, or someone simply left it in my car. He spoke with a carefully measured cadence, feigning a helpful if slightly flustered demeanor. His initial denial held unwavering, delivered with a practiced ease. He maintained a facade of polite cooperative innocence. Yet Detective Thorne, with years of experience, dissecting the nuances of human behavior under pressure, sensed the subtle, almost imperceptible shifts beneath Hollis's carefully constructed performance. Thorne observed the fleeting uncertainty that flickered in Hollis's eyes, a micro-expression of unease that vanished as quickly as it appeared. He noted the carefully controlled tremor in Hollis's voice, a slight tightening around his jaw. These were not the genuine reactions of a man truly bewildered, but rather the telltale signs of an individual actively fabricating a narrative, desperately struggling to reconcile damning evidence with his manufactured innocence. The silent, high-stakes test had begun. The interrogation room, stark and unforgiving, was designed to amplify tension, stripping away any pretense. Garrett Hollis, initially calm and collected, found himself confronting the relentless, calibrated pressure of Detective Thorne and Detective Chen. The elaborate dance of deception had moved from an open road to this confined chamber where every word, every subtle shift in expression was scrutinized under the unblinking eye of the camera. Thorne began softly, almost paternally, laying out the initial pieces of evidence as an open invitation for Hollis to explain. He spoke of the hotel keycard, the undeniable physical link to Eleanor Vance's cabin. He then introduced the grainy but clear surveillance footage from the Albany Harmony Suites, showing Hollis's distinctive gait, placing him at the hotel at the critical time. Hollis's cooperative demeanor began to fracture. His feigned bewilderment gave way to a slight tightening of his jaw, an almost imperceptible flicker of irritation in his eyes. Chen, observing keenly, then introduced the satellite data from Hollis's company vehicle tracker. Your sales route on the day Eleanor vanished put you just a few miles from her cabin, Mr. Hollis, she stated calmly, her voice even unyielding. The precise GPS coordinates, undeniable dots on a map, directly contradicted his earlier vague claims. Hollis's carefully constructed alibi, once seemingly solid, began to show its first true cracks. His breathing became shallower, his gaze darting erratically around the room, as if searching for an escape route that did not exist. His resistance weakened, yielding to reluctant admissions. Okay, fine, he exhaled, rubbing his temples, a clear sign of growing distress. I was in the area. I sometimes drive through Maple Creek for work. But I still don't know this woman. The detectives leaned in their expressions, unwavering, a silent testament to the erosion of his composure piece by painful piece. Under sustained pressure, Hollis finally discarded his complete denial and pivoted to an elaborate, fantastical tale. He described a chance, brief, and entirely consensual encounter with Eleanor Vance, a narrative meticulously designed to explain away the damning keycard and his undeniable proximity. Painted a picture of a casual, fleeting affair, suggesting Eleanor, for some unknown convoluted reason, must have inadvertently dropped his keycard, or perhaps even deliberately planted it to implicate him, or simply for attention. She was complicated, he offered, attempting to shift blame to cast Eleanor in a light that would justify his presence and her disappearance. He spun a complex web of deceit, each new layer more convoluted than the last, desperately attempting to deflect suspicion and control the narrative. But the more he spoke, the more glaring the inconsistencies became. The detectives listened, their faces impassive, allowing him ample rope to entangle himself further in his own fabrication. Hollis, caught in the snare of his own lies, found his narrative becoming increasingly difficult to sustain, trapped in an intricate battle of wills, where every word he uttered only served to tighten the net around him. This intense interrogation was steadily exposing the true sinister purpose behind his presence in Maple Creek. Garrett Hollis, still clinging to his self-serving fictions, believed his carefully constructed words could outmaneuver the truth. But Detectives Thorne and Chen were no longer seeking a narrative. They sought absolute points of failure, inconsistencies the cold, undeniable data would expose. What transpired next was a methodical, almost surgical dissection of his fabricated alibi, laying bare each deception with unforgiving clarity. The first definitive strike arrived with a printed map placed on the table, overlaid with stark red lines. Mr. Hollis Thorne, stated his voice firm, yet calm, your company vehicle is equipped with a GPS tracker. This telemetry data places your vehicle unequivocally at Eleanor Vance's cabin on the morning of her disappearance, specifically between 7:15 a.m. and 8:03 a.m. The precise timestamp and location drawn from the vehicle's internal systems stood in direct opposition to Hollis's claims of being on a sales call hours away. Hollis's eyes darted to the map, his earlier defiance draining from his face, replaced by a flicker of raw panic. He opened his mouth, but no coherent denial emerged, only a strangled sound of disbelief. Next, Detective Chen presented financial records. "You claimed to be on a sales call in upstate New York that morning, Mr. Hollis. Yet, at 6:47 a.m., a cash withdrawal from an ATM in Maple Creek, Vermont, was recorded using your debit card. The bank statement, clear and damning, lay between them, an irrefutable testament to his presence." Hollis stared at it, his complexion paling to an ashen gray. He had driven over 100 miles in the pre-dawn hours, executed a cash transaction in Eleanor's hometown, and then proceeded directly to her secluded cabin, all while weaving an elaborate tale of professional obligations elsewhere. Each detail he had meticulously tried to hide was now starkly illuminated. But the most devastating blow came from the digital forensics unit. Hollis's personal phone, initially appearing meticulously clean, had been subjected to advanced recovery techniques. A digital forensics expert working tirelessly had unearthed what Hollis desperately believed was erased deleted call logs and a series of encrypted messages exchanged with an unknown burner phone in the hours surrounding Eleanor's disappearance. These messages, though not fully deciphered, hinted at concealed communication, at deliberate planning, at a secret dialogue only he controlled. The unyielding drive to uncover the truth of Eleanor's vanishing was vividly epitomized in this painstaking digital excavation, bringing to light the digital vestiges of a conversation he thought buried forever. As each piece of evidence was systematically laid out, Garrett Hollis's carefully constructed facade shattered into irreparable fragments. His claims of a consensual encounter, his assertion that Eleanor might have somehow planted the keycard, all crumbled under the weight of irrefutable impartial data. GPS coordinates, ATM timestamps, and the lingering digital traces of his communications converged with chilling precision, leaving him no conceivable room to maneuver, no narrative left to construct. Every advance in technology, every minute detail of dedicated detective work had inexorably converged, exposing the profound depth of his deception and leaving the unvarnished truth irrevocably laid bare. The interrogation had exposed Hollis's web of lies, but it was the silent, unimpeachable language of forensic science that would deliver the final crushing blow. The vast network of crime labs across the state, working in concert, meticulously analyzed every piece of physical evidence collected from Eleanor's cabin and later from Garrett Hollis's vehicle and person. The truth, immutable and cold, lay hidden in the microscopic. The first and most devastating revelation stemmed from DNA analysis. Beneath Eleanor Vance's fingernails, carefully collected during the initial processing of the crime scene, forensic technicians discovered microscopic skin cells. These minute samples, painstakingly amplified and profiled, were then compared against the DNA collected from Garrett Hollis under a court order. The results were absolute. The DNA matched. Hollis's cellular material, found beneath Eleanor's nails, stood as irrefutable evidence of a desperate struggle, a violent encounter that directly contradicted his fabricated tale of a consensual meeting. This single piece of evidence alone spoke volumes, painting a chilling tableau of Eleanor's final moments, fighting for her life. Further investigations from the Trace Evidence Unit added layers of damning detail to the already formidable case. Forensic examination of fiber evidence unveiled a silent exchange between victim and perpetrator. Microscopic threads, distinctive in color and composition, consistent with the upholstery of Hollis's company vehicle, were discovered entangled in Eleanor's living room rug. This suggested a forceful contact, perhaps when she was dragged or subdued. Conversely, in a meticulous sweep of Hollis's car, forensic scientists recovered unique, brightly colored fragments from Eleanor's distinctive artist's smock. These tiny, almost invisible strands, painstakingly located and identified, unequivocally placed Eleanor Vance inside Hollis's vehicle, a location for which she had no logical explanation. These seemingly disparate details, once scattered, were now interwoven by the rigorous discipline of scientific inquiry. Each fiber, each cell, each digital breadcrumb converged into an unassailable evidentiary mosaic, a tapestry of irrefutable facts. The physical evidence articulated its truth with an undeniable clarity, affirming the timeline established by digital forensics and the struggle hinted at by the disarray in the cabin. There was no room left for doubt, no remaining crevice for Hollis's dwindling lies to hide. This scientific testimony, presented by the impartial hand of fact, definitively sealed Garrett Hollis's fate, underscoring the relentless power of forensic investigation in bringing the hidden machinations of criminals to light. The full, brutal truth had finally been unearthed. The trial of Garrett Hollis began with the grim solemnity of a final reckoning. For Eleanor Vance's family, particularly her mother Margaret Vance, it was a harrowing, agonizing experience. Each day, Margaret sat stoically in the unforgiving glare of the courtroom lights, her presence a tangible embodiment of enduring grief. She watched as the legal system, with exacting precision, sought to articulate the unthinkable, to dissect the last moments of the daughter she so cherished. The courtroom filled with the hushed murmur of observers and the grave faces of the jury became the arena where the cold facts of the investigation collided with the raw pain of loss. The prosecution, led by a seasoned district attorney, systematically built their case, presenting the overwhelming mountain of evidence. One by one, the scrupulously collected pieces were laid bare: the anonymous hotel key card, the unassuming plastic object that served as the initial cryptic clue. They unveiled the intricate digital trails followed across state lines, the stark data from surveillance footage, GPS trackers, and recovered phone records that comprehensively demolished every layer of Hollis's fabricated alibis. Expert witnesses from the Digital Forensics Lab and the Trace Evidence Unit took the stand, their testimonies a chilling symphony of scientific exactitude. They detailed the undeniable DNA evidence found beneath Eleanor's fingernails, compelling proof of a desperate struggle. They showed the jury microscopic threads from Hollis's vehicle upholstery found on Eleanor's living room rug, and conversely, fibers from Eleanor's unique artist's smock discovered in his car, each tiny strand a stark condemnatory testament. As the overwhelming evidence mounted, Hollis, now completely stripped of his earlier calm facade, presented a disturbing display. He oscillated between defiant silence, his eyes narrowed and unyielding, and desperate rambling denials, his voice often rising in a thin, reedy whine filled with self-pity and continued fabrication. His attempts to reassert his convoluted narrative, to claim he was a victim of circumstance, crumbled under the sheer weight of the scientific and digital truth. The jury watched him, their expressions carefully neutral, as the prosecutor's unyielding presentation of facts left no stone unturned, no question unanswered. The emotional zenith arrived with Margaret Vance's victim impact statement. Her voice, though trembling, initially gained a quiet, steel-like resolve as she addressed the court and, more directly, the man who had stolen her daughter's future. Her words were not just a recitation of loss, but a raw, profound expression of love and an unwavering demand for accountability. She spoke of Eleanor's vibrant spirit, her artistic dreams, the desolate chasm left in their lives. Every morning, Margaret stated, her voice thick with the deep sorrow of an irreparable void, "I wake up, and for a split second, I forget. And then the darkness rushes back in. You took her from us. You took her light, her laughter, her future. And for that, there is no forgiveness." Her gaze, unwavering, fixed on Hollis, who finally looked away, a flicker of something akin to shame, or perhaps just profound discomfort crossing his face. After days of intense testimony and a powerful closing argument that summarized the unassailable evidence, the jury retired for deliberation. The tension in the courtroom was suffocating, a collective breath held in agonizing anticipation. Hours later, the jury returned. The foreman stood, his voice clear and resonant. The verdict was unanimous: guilty. The word hung in the air like a final decisive blow, a hammer of justice finally falling, bringing an end to the agonizing uncertainty and holding the perpetrator accountable for his heinous crime. The unanimous verdict of guilty in the case of Garrett Hollis brought a crucial measure of closure to the fractured lives of Eleanor Vance's family. The long-awaited verdict had been delivered and accountability at last secured. Yet, for Margaret Vance, the resounding word in the courtroom would not erase the profound and enduring chasm of her loss. A perpetrator was behind bars, but her daughter remained forever gone. "It's not peace, not entirely," Margaret confided weeks after the trial, her voice still etched with weariness, yet now imbued with a fragile dawning hope. She sat in Eleanor's cabin, a place once filled with vibrant art and echoing laughter, now quiet but no longer haunted by crushing uncertainty. "It's an acceptance, an understanding that we fought for her and we prevailed. But the ache that stays with you," the journey toward healing was for Margaret a long, winding path, much like the very trails Eleanor used to hike. She found profound solace in Eleanor's art, now meticulously preserved. The unfinished canvas on the easel, once a stark reminder of life interrupted, became a vibrant symbol of Eleanor's enduring spirit, her creativity unfading even in absence. Margaret often spent hours in the cabin, simply sitting, drawing quiet strength from the brilliant hues Eleanor had left behind. The community of Maple Creek, once gripped by a cold fear, now rallied around her, their unwavering support a comforting, silent embrace. Neighbors brought meals, friends offered steadfast companionship, and local artists organized a heartfelt tribute exhibition displaying Eleanor's works to celebrate the vividness of her life, not merely to mourn her passing. Detective Sergeant Marcus Thorne and Detective Olivia Chen, having closed yet another arduous chapter in their relentless pursuit of truth, deeply understood this fundamental paradox of justice. They had unraveled the deception, meticulously traced every digital footprint, and marshaled the irrefutable scientific evidence. Yet they knew the legal verdict, however definitive, could never fully mend the torn fabric of a family's existence. Their mission was to hold the guilty accountable, to ensure no other family suffered a similar fate from the same cruel hand. In Hollis's conviction, they saw not a triumph in the traditional sense, but a solemn fulfillment of their profound duty, a stark testament to the fact that even the most elaborate deceptions could not withstand the relentless, unwavering glare of a thorough investigation. The narrative of Eleanor Vance, a life so vibrantly lived and so tragically cut short, serves as a poignant, enduring reminder. It underscores that while the legal system can indeed deliver its decisive verdict, ensuring accountability and offering a degree of finality, the personal toll of crime endures a shadow that never entirely lifts. Yet even within this persistent pain, there exists an unwavering strength, the indomitable spirit of those who refuse to let loss define them, who find solace in cherished memory, and who hold firm to the belief that light will ultimately pierce even the deepest darkness. Eleanor Vance's spirit, like the brilliant, hopeful colors on her unfinished canvas, remains. For even in the most profound tragedies, the true light of a life lived passionately, authentically, can never be truly extinguished. And the unwavering pursuit of truth, fueled by an unbreakable commitment to those who have fallen, will always inevitably bring what was hidden into the harsh, illuminating glare of justice, ensuring that no life is taken and no story silenced without profound, lasting consequence. Every hidden trace, no matter how small, becomes a beacon for the relentless march of justice. If the unseen digital trails that lead to justice intrigue you, subscribe for more stories from the Shadow Files. Don't forget to subscribe to Shadow Files and hit the notification bell.